Good morning. So good to see all of you here today. A lot of you, we have some family friends here. We do. I'm sure a lot of you also have family in town. So we hope that your holiday week and weekend has been a blessed one. We're going to try something new today. So we're going to take a poll. All right. So if you have your phone and you have the app on your phone, you can just go right there. If you don't, you can use the QR code right in front of you and take a picture or point your camera at that and go, because you will see on our app, you'll see this picture right here. And if you'll click on that, there'll be a question, all right? So we'd like for some of you guys to try this out. And here's the question right here. What is your most memorable Christmas gift? Is it a toy, jewelry, clothing, a pet, some form of transportation, electronics, or a lump of coal? My brother-in-law's here. I'm sure that he's going to choose lump of coal there. So play around with your app, see if you can get there. And if you can, answer that question. We'll look at the results in a few minutes. I want to thank those who taught our kids program for the past few months. They have done a stellar job and are really not only a blessing to the parents in the auditorium here, but also to our kids. They are learning so much. I heard Miles. What is the line from class? My Bible. What did he say?
Bible is the best book. I think so.
My Bible is the best book, and he was patting the Bible and just saying that. And that's cute, but it's also reminds you of the importance of this constant reminder in kids, and this stuff is seated deep in their brain, in their souls, and I really appreciate all the ones that have done that. In December, we're going to be doing something a little bit different, so things will change, but we got some great stuff going on. On the weeks of the 5th, the 12th, and the 26th, all the kids will begin in the auditorium. And then after the singing part that they can participate in, and before we get to the sermon, which they probably don't pay as much attention to, not like you guys do all the time, I'm sure, but they'll be dismissed and they'll go to classes, 2 and 3-year-olds up here and everybody else downstairs, and they'll be doing some very special stuff for the month of December. So on those 3 weeks, they'll begin in the auditorium, and then we'll dismiss them and they'll go downstairs for their classes for part of our adult worship. On the 19th, the Sunday before Christmas, everybody stays here in the auditorium because we've got something that's going to involve everybody here, and we want all the kids to participate in that too. Plus, it's a lot of songs and singing that they know well and they hear a lot. So that's how things are going to change for the month of December. Just be aware of that when you come. Kids are going to start for those 3 weeks here in the auditorium and then be dismissed down to the kids' classes. All right. Have you done your poll? All right. I hope this technology works. We'll see. All right, let's see the results here. All right, 48% said a toy. 36. You realize that this here is all men, right? Okay, all the guys, some form of electronics. 3.8% lump of coal. I'm not sure who that represents, but. All right, we're pretty, 0% transportation. So all those commercials where you go outside on Christmas morning and you have the new Lexus, no one had that experience? No? How about a new bicycle? That's a form of transportation, maybe that, okay. All right, appreciate you guys playing around with that. And that's we'll do that on occasion from now and then. Our kids are so hyper-focused right now about Christmas and about gifts. Receiving the gifts that they want for Christmas. Probably from early October on, Anna's looking at everything, every commercial, everything online, everything, and she's got to have this thing here. She didn't know she had to have it before October, but starting by October, these are things that she can't live without. And about that time, we start repeating the parents' mantra. Do you know what the Christmas mantra is for parents? We'll have to ask Santa about that, right? Okay. And what we're really hoping is that they'll forget about it and move on to something else. So this is the kids asking about Santa, and that's a great picture for that. Most things on their wish list, they didn't even know they needed till a few weeks ago. And we're counting down, 27 days now till Christmas. We're counting down, and they're eagerly looking forward to what's going to be beneath the tree there on Christmas morning. You know, Santa's compiling his list. And for those kids who are on the good list, Jeff, are you on the good list? All right, good. Well, then they're gonna be rewarded by Santa. Of course, adults are not that much different, are they? This is a great picture of Santa, but for adults, I've got a better picture of Santa. This is my favorite picture of Santa right here. It's the Amazon homepage. Okay, just give me a little laugh there, okay? This is the people that laugh are the ones that have Amazon Prime. So they know the addictive nature of this, all right? Early on, I started getting these emails, 20% off, 30% off this. And I'm going, man, that'd be cool to have, And then, of course, Amazon has the amazing ability to know what I've searched for 3 months ago, and it pops up on my home screen there and tells me, if I order right now, I can get that. The only difference in the adult Christmas Santa and kids Christmas Santa is that we can click buy now. And if you got Amazon Prime, in 2 days it shows up on your front doorstep. How many of you, we don't have a poll with this, so you can raise your hand. How many of you have bought your own Christmas present before? Oh man, I had no idea. It's like, here, honey, wrap this up. This is from you, So, and of course, we say, look, let me wear it a few days, and then you can wrap it up and give it to me for Christmas. There, we have this. What we've done is we don't have to wait for Santa's arrival. We can have it. The only anticipation we experience is the brief moments between adding it to our shopping cart and we click proceed to checkout. Okay, that's the extent of our anticipation sense of a gift. We lose that sense of specialness. The extent of our waiting, instead of weeks waiting for Christmas, is just days for Amazon to process our orders. We've forgotten what real waiting is like. But the Bible measures waiting in centuries and millennia. And that waiting begins with the prophecies from the Old Testament. Probably the earliest prophetic message of hope happens in Genesis chapter 3. Adam and Eve, you know the story, they've been in the garden. This is the idyllic existence. I mean, there could be no better gift than this. Living carefree in the garden without a worry, everything provided for you, no suffering, no pain. All they had to do was stay away from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. But the temptation was too strong. The lure was too great. And so they ate of the fruit, and the minute they ate of it, they realized the devastating nature of that act, the shame it brought, the fear that they experienced, the pain that they felt in their souls, and ultimately expulsion from this garden, gates shut, forever to live outside this garden. And God spoke these curses upon them. There would be now pain in childbirth. The land that used to provide for you will now work against you as you try to cultivate and grow. And then to Satan, this serpent, he gives this prophetic message when he says that they will now crawl on their bellies on the ground. And he says this in verse 15, I will put enmity or strife between you and the woman, between your offspring and hers. He will crush your head and you will strike his heel. He's announcing war is going to break out between humanity and Satan now. And although Satan's going to continue to strike at our heels, there's 4 Hebrew words here that speak a message of hope. That says that ultimately humanity, through an offspring of ours, will deliver the fatal blow to Satan. It's been debated probably since the text was written, whether this is a prophetic message about the coming of Jesus. I don't think we'll ever know the answer to that question. But there is something hopeful in those words. He will nip at your heels, but you will strike his head. In these opening chapters of human existence, God announces that the one who stole our innocence will one day pay for his offenses. And from that time forward, people have been longing for that day to come. That prophetic message happened so long ago, we can't even date it. But there are other prophetic messages that happen in times that we can date. 730 BC. King Ahaz is the king of the southern kingdom, 2 tribes down there that survived a civil war with the northern tribes. And he's under attack by one of the other local kings, the king of Rezin. But his forces are strong, and they held firm, protecting the city of Jerusalem. Rezin was not able to defeat it, but all of a sudden word comes to Ahaz that Rezin has now formed an alliance with these other tribes to the north, Jewish people who are now working with somebody who is trying to destroy the southern kingdom and Jerusalem. And Ahaz's spirits fell. The whole nation just felt this sense of defeat because their forces could not withstand both of these kings, both of these nations allying together to come and destroy them. And that's when God sent Isaiah to talk to Ahaz. And he tells him, don't worry about this. Those 2 kings that want to attack you, they're just like smoldering logs on a fire. Before long, they're going to disappear and you won't even have to worry about them. And he says, I'm going to give you a sign that what I'm telling you is going to come about. Here's what he says. The virgin will conceive and give birth to a son, and will call him Emmanuel. And he'll be eating curds and honey when he knows enough to reject wrong and choose the right. For before the boy knows enough to reject the wrong and choose the right, the land of these 2 kings you dread will be laid to waste. And although history has long forgotten who this virgin was and when this son came about, that statement rings on throughout history. It is a statement of hope that God will not abandon his people. That there will always be a hope for Emmanuel, God with us, standing near us, defending us, protecting us. So starting not this coming Wednesday we're going to conclude our Songs That Inspire class. But starting the next Wednesday night, for a few weeks in December, Steve Klosky is going to teach a class on Wednesday about the prophecies of Jesus that are spoken from the Old Testament. And I encourage you to come and be part of that class, whether it's live or through our live stream. Just be part of that class. It's going to spend a lot of time talking about these prophecies we mentioned today and some others that come up in the Old Testament as well, that happened centuries before Jesus' arrival here. Words like those are part of our hopeful vocabulary. They were part of Israel's long-standing hopeful vocabulary that gave them the sense that even though they're living through difficult times and facing real odds against them, that they can stand firm, that they can hope for the future. There's a phrase in Hebrew, and it's pronounced, I think, ana-ad. And it appears in the book of Psalms, probably almost more than almost any other phrase in the book of Psalms. And the phrase is really a question. It is, how long? And time again, the writers just ask the question, how long? Here's David asking it in chapter 13, Psalm 13. How long, Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long must I wrestle with my thoughts, my day after day, have sorrow in them in my heart? How long will my enemy triumph over me? That kind of pulsing question demands an answer. I mean, we need a date. We need a time when God's promised rescue is going to come. But that question throughout the entire book of Psalms is left hanging out there just like an echo. There's no answered date. There's no announced time. There's just this ever-present promise and this faithful longing of a people for the arrival of that day. And with each passing generation of Jewish families from those early days throughout the closing of the past eon, families built that anticipation. It grew and it grew and it grew until it was just palpable, the sense of it. Families told stories about God's crushing the heads of the abusive rulers. They looked to Bethlehem as a place where a new king would come and restore David's kingdom and bring them to their own sense of power and safety and security. They offered sacrifices in the temple to cleanse themselves and prepare themselves for the coming of this king. And they did this for years and for decades. And for centuries, they waited and they waited and they watched. Until the day that God's messenger showed up in Bethlehem and spoke to Mary. And he said, "Don't be afraid, Mary. You have found favor with God. You will conceive and give birth to a son, and you are to call him Jesus. And he will be great. He will be called the Son of the Most High God. The Lord our God will give him the throne of his father David, and he will reign over Jacob's descendants forever and ever. His kingdom will never end." And I got a sense that Mary was just stunned at hearing an angelic being give her those words. That finally, after centuries of longing and preparation and hope for some future event, that God was finally going to fulfill his promise, and more than that, that she was going to play a part in that fulfillment. And when it finally sunk in, she celebrated. "My soul glorifies the Lord," she sang. "My spirit rejoices in God, my Savior, for he has been mindful of the humble state of his servant. From now on, all generations will call me blessed, for the Mighty One has done great things for me. Holy is his name. He has helped his servant Israel, remembering to be merciful to Abraham and his descendants forever, just as he promised our ancestors." And so did her cousin, Elizabeth, when she found out that she too would give birth to a son who would prepare the way for the coming of this Messiah. So did her husband, Zechariah, when he found out that he would also have an heir who would be one of the forerunners of Christ. So did the angels who announced his birth. So did the shepherds that went and first worshiped Jesus in that manger. So did Simeon, who had been told that he would not die before he saw the coming of the Messiah. And then one day in the temple, he bumps into Mary and Joseph bringing Jesus in for circumcision. And he's like, "Whoa, this is a day." And he rejoices in that. So did Anna, who, although she was 84 years old, she spent day and night in the temple praying and fasting, longing for that day. And when she was there in the temple seeing Joseph and Mary and baby Jesus, she rejoiced, and she couldn't just keep quiet. She was telling everybody around her who this guy was, who this infant was going to be, and what she was witnessed there. Over thousands of years, Israel had hoped every day. They had waken up in the morning praying for the coming of Messiah. They had gone to bed that night praying that the next day would be the day of the coming of the Messiah. And now, that time was here. How long have you waited for a gift? What's the longest time that you have longed for something, hoped for it, wished for it, prayed for it, and yet it had not been provided, and you just kept on looking forward until one day the gift arrives? I'm not talking about a momentary anticipation about a tangible gift that will be discarded in a few days. I'm talking about generations. I'm talking about a lifetime. A kind of prolonged anticipation. Well, that's difficult to endure, isn't it? I mean, just constantly hoping and hoping. But that kind of prolonged anticipation that lasts years, decades, a lifetime, multi-generations, that kind of anticipation, when it is fulfilled, gives birth to relentless rejoicing, a celebration of what God has done for us, that He's restored us, that He has redeemed us, that He has always faithfully promised us, and now we can experience it. So over the next few weeks, we're going to be talking about how the coming of Jesus is that special gift for us. It's a story so well known in Christian circles. It's a story that gets buried beneath the Santa story in much of secular culture. But as we step into the boots of ancient Judaism, let us see their deep, multi-generational longing and experience the resolution of that desire when Jesus comes. But we also want to hear your stories about how for you the coming of Jesus has been such a memorable, precious gift for you. What about that event has just spoken to your heart and gives you such joy? So tomorrow in the email, there'll be a link for you to share that. On the QR code app, there's this picture right here where we'd like you to share your gift story. So whether you do it from your phones or whether you wait for tomorrow's email, we'd just like to hear your story about why the gift of Jesus, that event that happened so long before our existence, why that can be such a precious gift for us in this congregation today. Our hope is that we'll look beyond the glory of the fading packages that we're going to unwrap in the next few weeks and discover the overwhelming joy, the overwhelming satisfaction of how Jesus provided what we've longed for more than anything else. And maybe we can share in the words of Zechariah, the father of John the Baptist, when he was told about the coming of his son, who would open the door for the Messiah's ministry to restore Israel to his grandeur. Here's what he said: "Praise the Lord, the God of Israel, because he has visited and redeemed his people. He has sent us a mighty Savior from the royal line of the servant David, just as he promised through his holy prophets long ago. And now we will be saved from our enemies and from those who hate us. He has been merciful to our ancestors by remembering his sacred covenant." I don't know what the words of your song is going to be, but I hope that by the time we're through with the next few weeks that we'll all have a song to sing, a celebration of how Jesus appearing in a manger in Bethlehem is the greatest gift we could receive. Let's stand and sing this song together.